new pill.
Yes,
Vibrates. Is a vibrating pill.
Yes.
And
careful with this one.
Vibrating pill that helps treat constipation. Now, this pill, it worked in 41 participants. Of the participants.
You pop it in, it's going to all the way through
your bowel. It worked for 23% who, as opposed to
eating right, taking care of yourself, doing the things you should be doing.
So it's going to vibrate all the way through, and then it's going to come out.
Yes,
pop
it is.
out like that.
Yes, it is.
So
now, what's going to happen to this thing when it pops out?
Exactly. And what
is it metal? Is it plastic? Is it a battery in there? I mean,
imagine going through airport security.
What's that?
Imagine going through airport security.
Can you imagine? Literally, you're going through airport security. You're like, what is that thing? I
What's that buzzing, sir?
So 41% as opposed to 23% that took the placebo. And then what about, we're missing a whole percentage there. By the way, it was only
margin of error
as opposed to 23%.
So that's math, Richard. You're not allowed to look at. You are not allowed to look at this thing reasonably. They're like, okay, 41% to 21%. It's like, yes, okay, that's 62%. What happened with the remaining?
Get lost in there. So
I do not know these things,
and it's a long way through this.
Well, and I would think with they've always been concerned over diverticulosis, right? Those outpouching. What happens if that thing gets up in there and sits in there going? I mean, wow.
So what happens if you take multiples? Because somebody will.
Well, someone's going to. They're going to put like one thing, stick 9 of them down there. 9 of them down there, you're going to have a Harry Met Sally commercial. I'm just saying, that's how I'm feeling about this. I don't know.
So,
vibrate an ovary, do something. I'm just thinking, whoop.
What would you suggest instead of taking a vibrating constipation?
Well, I would think that as a rule of thumb. Okay, you look
at a rule of thumb.
Yes, sir. As constipation goes along, right? Constipation. First off, by definition, is less than 1 bowel movement per day. So if you don't have at least 1 per day, you're constipated.
I know many people of the other sex that have less than 1 a day.
And ironically, it tends to be that way. It tends to be more female related than male related. So there's something different there. It's like, all right, well, why do women struggle with it more than men do? And it definitely seems to be that way, or at least it has in my 2 decades of practice, right? And I specialize in digestion. So I see this all the time. And I look at this and I think, okay, what's the reason behind it? Now, a lot of times I found that there are dietary things.
I bet men are the cause of all problems.
You know what? They are. It's you let too many damn unruly men in your life, and you all have trouble now because
mechanical, emotional.
But you know what? And it's interesting when you look at it that way, because diet alone, historically, women are much better eaters than men are.
They are.
I mean, much better eaters. They're salad eaters. They do this. They do that. We're like, where's the Pop-Tarts and the can of Coke? Right? That's just what we do. So looking at it from that perspective, then you have to say, okay, well, if diet is not the driving force behind it, then what is constipation? Now, the Chinese had a theory for years in Chinese medicine that if you're stuck in life, you're stuck everywhere else. So if you feel trapped or slowed or blocked in your life, then your body will physically grind to a halt. And I would venture to say that probably 80% of the patients that I see that have battled constipation lifelong have had strong emotional stresses that interfered with things where they felt trapped, they felt stuck, they felt unable to move forward, and it grinds to a halt. So if you follow that theory, take the other spectrum where the bowel's moving too fast, more than 3 times a day, or very loose or watery. If it's taking off, again, looking at it from an emotional standpoint, you'd say, okay, what are you running from? What are you trying to escape? What are you trying to get away from that you don't want to face or deal with? When you deal with the emotional side of things like that, a lot of stuff goes away. I mean, you can't ignore that phase. Remember the men, that mechanical, emotional, nutritional. The emotional side of that triangle, guys, is a leg of that triangle. If you ignore that leg, you will not fix that person. You'll manage it the rest of your life, but you'll never fix them. Right? So you've got to look at the whole big picture. And that's really what separates, I think, what I do in practice from probably 99% of the physicians out there in every discipline.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's natural, non-natural, it doesn't matter. Every discipline. And here's the real tell. If you want to know if your doctors are failing, all you have to do is look at disease. Right? You go back to 1900, we had about 1,860 diseases known to man. By the 40s, it had creeped up a little more at around 2,000, almost 2,500. By the 70s, it had increased to almost 4,000 or 5,000. Right? In 2020, before COVID hit the world and everything went to crap, The National Institute for Health noted that we have 10,000 diseases that affect mankind.
Yeah. 10,000.
So you went from 1860 to 10,000 in less than 100 years. With a medical system that's supposed to be phenomenal and wonderful. Well, if I'm getting more disease, not less,
Yeah.
if I'm not even putting the brakes on its progression, you're failing miserably because you're looking at it all wrong, in my opinion. You're looking at it purely from a symptomatic, manage, it's never going to get any better kind of thing.